We were looking at diabetes. We looked at the two forms of diabetes. Actually, first with the forms, we looked at diabetes insipidus, which is more to do with the renal failures and fluid imbalance, where we are looking at accumulation of fluid in the body, etc., due to challenges with the nephrons and the kidney at large. But then when we came and looked at the diabetes mellitus, we realize that there are two types where we are looking at type 1 diabetes and then also type 2. For type 1, we saw that the major cause of the etiology of this condition was the autoimmune disease that affects the insulin secreting cells, or you could call them the beta cells of the pancreas. And we saw that this is more genetic compared to the second type, which is the type 2 diabetes mellitus, which we saw that is really more due to less insulin being secreted, or the inability of the cells to be taking in insulin due to the fat cells that are due to the fat that is accumulating around the cells and etc. And then we also saw that lifestyle has a major role it plays in type 2 diabetes, and we saw how we could find ways in controlling this, in which we saw that glycemic index being where we saw this as a way in which the foods are releasing the sugar into the blood. And we saw that foods with a high glycemic index are those foods that usually release a lot of sugar into blood and give those high spikes of sugar. However, we saw that the foods with the low glycemic index are those foods that release the sugar slowly, and this could help us in management of the diabetes and also in maintaining our sugar levels low. And we saw that the foods with a high glycemic index are more to do with the processed foods, the white bread, the pasta, the rice, etc. And then for the food with a low glycemic index, we saw these are the whole grains. We talked of the fruits and vegetables, and also this is where we brought out the term of the complex carbohydrates, where we said these are the carbohydrates that still have that have higher structures that take time to be broken down. So this means they will be releasing glucose slowly into the body compared to the simple sugars that will be releasing glucose very fast into the body, causing those spikes, and at the end of the day leading to diabetes. All right. Today we are going to still interest ourselves with another condition in this metabolic syndrome, and this is going to be hypertension. And I think most of us have heard about hypertension, one or two things about hypertension, and we are saying this is known as high blood pressure. But then the thing here we really need to take into consideration is chronic. Okay, when we talk of chronic, we are talking of something that is long lasting, or something that has had a long lasting effect on you. So when we say hypertension, we are saying commonly known as high blood pressure is a chronic medical condition characterized by elevated blood pressure levels in the arteries. Okay, or you could call them blood vessels, I should say. And blood pressure is the force exerted by circulating blood against the wall of the artery as the heart pumps the blood throughout the body. We know that our circulatory system is composed of the heart, the arteries, the veins, and also those other capillaries that are in the body that transmit the blood, and of which the blood is important in the transfer of the nutrients and also oxygen and also carbon dioxide, vice versa. Occurs when this pressure is consistently higher than the normal. They're saying to get this, we need to find an average. Really, our and danger that I presume or I want to avoid. So you will find that in some cases, people will be having these heightened blood pressure levels, but then at the end of the day, when we talk of hypertension, we are looking at the consistency of finding a person with these elevated levels. Yeah, so next we are looking at the classification of blood pressure levels. We have what we call the systolic blood pressure, and we are saying this is the pressure exerted by blood against the arteries of the walls. And then we have when the heart contracts. And then for the diastolic blood pressure, here we are looking at pressure exerted by blood against the artery walls when the heart relaxes. Yeah, that is what we could talk of. Down below here, I've left an illustration or a diagram. We call it a photo drawing, whatever, of this machine that measures blood pressure is called sphygmomanometer, something like that. It has quite a long name, but I wanted us to look at it. I think we'll be seeing a method of how to measure blood pressure later on. But really, we want to appreciate that up here, the 120, where you're seeing this is what we call the systolic reading. Okay, yeah, the systolic blood pressure reading is this 120. Then the one down is what we call the diastolic. Then the 72 you're seeing is the pulse. Earlier on, they used to do it in a more manual way, where they are looking at the scale that was running. But right now, we have these digital machines that simplify the work and make the work a little bit easier. So for the systolic, we are saying the optimal or the normal, it should be less than 120 really. Anything fluctuating around there is okay. And also for the diastolic, anything that is less than 80 is really of the normal. But we don't want it to be very low. Okay. Yeah. Because once it is very low, then really we need to put in your pacemaker so that the heart can pump more blood. Then we can also start suspecting that your heart walls or the muscles, your cardiac muscles are weak. They can no longer now pump blood to reach all the areas of your body. So they should not be very low. But anything really, when we are talking of hypertension that is less than 120, and also less than 180, and also less than 80 for the diastolic, we presume that is optimal. And then for the normal, we are looking at 120 to 129, and then 80 to 84 for the normal. So the other one earlier on, what I was discussing was optimal. But then for the normal, we are looking at 120 to 129, and then for the diastolic, we are looking at 80 to 84. For the high normal still, before we graduate to grade 1 hypertension, or you could call it pre-hypertension or pre-hypertensive states, we are looking at the high normal being at 130 to 139 and also 85 to 89. For grade 1, we are looking at 140 with the systolic being 140 to 159 and 90 to 99 for the diastolic. And etc. as we will be looking at those on the different charts to help you with these blood pressure ranges. Okay, so now we want to look at for the associations. Okay, yeah, and we've been looking at weight management. We've been looking at obesity, and we've seen that weight management is very key when we are tackling these metabolic conditions or conditions that are found in the metabolic syndrome. And we are saying that weight and blood pressure has a connection, or there has been an association between these. Okay, like we saw weight and diabetes, still here we see that there is strong evidence that links excess body weight to elevated blood pressure. Okay, because even sincerely speaking, when you see that now that the fat is being stored under the skin, when this fat is being stored under the skin and it is accumulating where the blood vessels are passing, be it the veins or the arteries, then that means that the fat is pressing onto the blood vessel and causing its call it the lumen that hollow part of the blood vessel to shrink. Okay, and once it shrinks or reduces, reduces in size, then the volume of the blood that blood vessel is supposed to transmit will increase. The volume will reduce, and once the volume has reduced, then to move that blood into the other parts of the body, you will see that a lot of pressure will be required. And the blood, after the blood picking up the pressure, then this is where we get these hypertensive cases. So when we talk over body weight, really we could see that with increasing body weight, we start suspecting also elevated blood pressure. And we're saying approximately 60% of the hypertensives or the people with hypertension are obese. And we're saying weight reduction can significantly lower the blood pressure and also improve on the cardiovascular health. Because remember, the heart, you're going to increase the blood to come to those different places because now the blood needs an extra push or an extra force to reach the different parts of the body to transfer the nutrients and etc. So what happens in the end of at the end of the day is we are going to require the heart to overwork, and once the heart overworks, we will see that we can start getting cardiac problems, and also things we talked about, the constriction of these arteries and the veins, etc. So we are also saying even modest weight loss of 5.1 kilograms can reduce the systolic blood pressure by 4.4 milligrams mercury, and also uh, the diastolic blood pressure by 3.6 uh, millimoles mercury. All right. Maintaining healthy weight is key in preventing and managing hypertension, I should say, and this should be taken into keen consideration. When you get a hypertensive case, when you get a diabetic case, most of the times you need to look out for this, okay? If there are avenues for you to try and combat weight gain, or for you to try and reduce weight of this certain individual, let's try as much as possible to explore all those options like we had listed them in the earlier lectures. Okay, yeah. All right. Although you have seen that there is all this evidence of the 5.1 kilograms can reduce, okay, the blood pressure by 4.4 millimeters mercury, and that is really something that is quite appreciated or appreciable. Healthy eating and healthy blood pressure. A lot of things have been talked about blood pressure. People have been told to restrict almost each and everything. But then, what is the truth? You, as a dietitian, you, as a nutritionist, you need to be able to talk about this. And we are saying that lifestyle modifications, including these dietary changes, can reduce blood pressure. These are things we can work on, okay? Unlike other things that maybe we could find challenges working on, uh, there are things that really we can work on and do uh, so that we can promote overall well-being of an individual. Okay, so what are the key dietary recommendations? One, we are looking at smoking cessation. Okay, you need to be able to stop smoking. These are the recommendations. Still, like I told you, we want the complete cessation of smoking. But if someone can't get to that, then we should find a way of limiting the smoking. Maybe if someone was smoking 3 sticks or 3 cigarettes, then we will tell them to smoke two. Then gradually we go and talk about one. Then finally we go and talk about a complete cessation. All right, and when we talk of smoking, there is a significant risk factor with hypertension, where these are the chemicals that are involved in the cigarettes, the tobaccos, and then this causes them to become very narrow. And once they are very narrow and less flexible, then the blood will increase in pressure. Okay, the pressure of the blood that is passing through these narrow veins or the narrow arteries will increase, and now this will contribute to the hypertension. Also, people are talking of a plaque building up from these tobaccos and also those waste products of the tobacco. All right. Then weight management, we can't emphasize that any further. However, we are also talking about alcohol, okay? And we are saying that alcohol can have complex effects on this blood pressure, okay? People talk of a lot of challenges when we say that heavy drinking can directly raise the blood pressure by causing damages to the heart, the kidney, and also the blood vessels. And you're saying this is also coupled with other things. They say birds of the same feathers flock together. It is the same thing here. In most cases, if someone is drinking alcohol, like it or not, in the other hand, these are the same people who are going to be smoking. Okay, and smoking was a trend in the day, but now there is something new. I hear it's called vaping. Mm. It is. I don't know what it is. I don't know what the science behind it is really, but now people are vaping instead of smoking. And the funny thing with the vaping is we don't know what is at the end of the road. For the smoking, Dole and Hill did a study, and now the effects of smoking are known. Okay, on lung cancer, the effects of smoking are known on these, the hypertensions and the diabetes, no, and the hypertension, sorry, basically. But then for the vaping, really, people are telling us it is healthy, people are telling us it's not tobacco, but really we don't know. Not a lot of research has been done on what other effects of vaping will be later on in the future. Okay, we are also talking about sometimes people who are drinking mildly or when people are having some moderate alcohol consumption, this could also have some effects that really will slightly affect or control or slightly lower the blood pressure. So, although we have at the extreme when someone is taking this alcohol excessively, hypertension could result. But if someone is taking it in a way that is regulated, then really we could see some benefits. Physical activity, we are talking about regular exercise. Okay, yeah. And for physical activity, this regular exercise is crucial in maintaining blood pressure. Regular exercise is very crucial in most of these metabolic syndrome diseases, or you could call them syndrome conditions. Mm. Yeah, the more we exercise, the more the body is able to help us during these particular case scenarios. Really, when we talk of this, we are saying that the more people exercise, the more the heart becomes more strong. And also, the more people exercise, the more we improve on circulation. Okay. And also, this can help us improve on our moods. It can also help us reduce our stress levels. And people argue that we could make sure at least to have more than 65 minutes of vigorous or intense exercise per day. But we are not going to force people to exercise who are doing strenuous work. We could just tell them to modify a bit. If they've been running, to start swimming. If they've been swimming, to start dancing. If they've been dancing, then maybe they do something else. But really, we see that exercise is essential for proper circulation of the blood and also to improve the heart health. Okay, with healthy eating and health food choices, we are saying that reduce salt intake. Okay, and what is the theory with the salt, sodium actually, and hypertension? Mm. We are saying reduce salt intake. Mm. Reducing salt intake, we are looking at you aiming to reduce 5 grams of sodium per day to lower blood pressure. Okay, there is a link between sodium and hypertension. With these high levels of sodium acting in a way of fluid retention. But okay, yeah. So when this fluid retention happens, the blood volume will increase because now the fluid that would have been excreted also is increasing. And once it increases, what happens at the end of the day? Now, the volume of the blood will be too much, and the lumen, or the area in which the blood is supposed to pass in the blood vessel, is small. So what happens? We look at the pressure increasing. At the end of the day, we will talk of high blood pressure. So we are saying reducing sodium intake is a key dietary recommendation, really, for preventing and managing the hypertension. Okay, yeah. So what should we do in this case? We are looking at you being able to choose those whole foods over the processed foods, and also looking at you using or limiting the use of table salt. But really, people are very addicted to this, and they can't do away without it. But then, when we are looking for health, still we find a way of looking for options and other substitutes that will help us in regulating sodium intake. Okay, then when we talk of increasing potassium intake, when we talk of potassium in most cases, the effect of sodium is antagonized by potassium. The effect of potassium is antagonized by sodium the other way around. We are saying potassium will help us play a critical role in this regulation of the blood pressure, really helping us maintain the cardiovascular health. So what does it do? Remember, we were talking of sodium increasing fluid retention. Okay, but then when it comes to the potassium, when there is a lot of excretion happening, then there will be less of the fluid, and that means the volumes of the blood will be checked, and then really we'll see that at the end of the day, this person is going to the blood pressure will reduce. Okay, then let's shift and look at the fat intake or total fat intake and hypertension, and we are saying that choose these lean proteins, okay, the lean meats, and also limit the unhealthy fats and promote the heart and promote. We are saying choose the lean protein sources and limit unhealthy fats to promote heart health. Okay, yeah. So it is interesting. This is where we talk of the saturated and the trans fats, and these are often found in those processed foods that you people really like eating, the chips, the chicken, and also those other baked goods. Really, the people always put a lot of margarine in this, and we are saying. This will increase what we people usually refer to as the bad cholesterol. Okay, and this is associated with things to do with atherosclerosis, which we'll explain a little later, which leads to the hypertension. And on the other hand, what I told we talked about yesterday, these unsaturated fats, okay, that are found in those nuts, the seed, the avocado, the fish, the oleic, and the omega 3, which are beneficial in cardiovascular health. Okay, so we tend to advocate more for the unsaturated fats when we are talking over hypertension. Well, when we mentioned atherosclerosis, this is where the now plaque, or what you could call those substances, the cellular waste, the calcium, really in most cases it is these fats that are built up on the walls of that blood vessel or the arteries. And once these build up, they start narrowing down the place or the hollow way, the lumen in which the blood is supposed to move, thus increasing the blood pressure. Okay, then let's look at the different diets. We have the DASH diet for the blood pressure, and we are saying here the dietary approach is to stop hypertension, and the DASH diet is a proven strategy for preventing those fruits, vegetables, and all grains. The lean proteins, as we've seen, its importance, and also the low fat dairy products, and also we are looking at the limited saturated and total fat, and also we are looking at reduced salt intake we understood why we reduce salt intake, because we say that now the sodium, since sodium is very key in retention of the fluid, and the more the fluid is retained, the increased volume of the blood, then the less, that means there will be very little space for it to squeeze through the different veins, the different arteries, sorry, and blood vessels. So once this happens, we will start getting this blood pressure, or what we call hypertension. That is the area around that. And we also looked at studies show that this DASH diet can lower the systolic blood pressure by 8 to 14 millimeters mercury. Alright, then let's shift. That was the DASH diet for us. Now let's look at the Mediterranean diet and blood pressure. And we are also seeing there has been growing evidence that suggests that the Mediterranean diet offers a protective effect against hypertension, where key components of this diet are abundant fruits, vegetables, and legumes, and also the whole grains as a primary source for the carbohydrates. Okay, yeah, not the processed foods and the refined foods, but we are looking at the whole grains being the primary source of carbohydrates. Then the healthy fats like the olive oil, and also we are looking at moderate the intake of fish and poultry. Okay, we are also looking at limited red meat consumption, and also we are looking at moderate use of herbs and spices. These condiments really things to watch out when we are looking at hypertension and trying to manage it with the DASH, with the Mediterranean diet. And also we are saying studies show that this Mediterranean diet can reduce the risk of hypertension up to 26%. Okay, when this Mediterranean diet is prescribed to an individual, or before, that is when we talk of the risk, reducing the risk is before someone gets the issue or the problem or the condition of interest. But then when we take over toning down, then the DASH diet comes in. But if someone has been having a Mediterranean diet all their life, then we can presume that these people are 26 times they are lower, uh, 26% compared to others in becoming hypertensive at the end of the day. So really we could also talk a little bit about these red meats, and because I know that question will soon come from some of you. When we talk of the red meats, we are talking of this bacon, we call it bacon, the sausages, hot dogs, all those different types of meats that really are saturated fat. We talked of the unsaturated fat being the good fat, and also okay, there's nothing like good or bad fat really. But then we have fat that will bring cardiovascular problems. That is the one you get from these highly processed foods, the margarines, etc. But then the unsaturated fat that we get from the avocado, the nuts, the olive oil, the omega-3 from the fish, etc. that help us to promote heart health. Right, then how does sodium intake affects the blood pressure? This we saw. The high dietary sodium intake is a significant contributor to the elevated blood pressure. Okay, and also reducing sodium intake to less than 5 grams per day can lower the blood pressure. The impact of sodium reduction is more pronounced in individuals with salt sensitivity, often older adults and the hypertensives. So, strategies for limiting this intake: we need to limit the processed food because most of them are high in sodium due to them being sprinkled with salt. No one wants to take chips without salt. No one wants to eat that egg without salt, and etc. And also the prepackaged meals, because now we can't tell how much of the sodium is going to be put in these foods. We will see also that sodium somehow affects the release of angiotensin, which is a hormone that limits diuresis. So that means there will be a lot of fluid that will be retained, and etc. There is a lot to read about sodium and hypertension. Hopefully, you get some time and go and appreciate All right, then we are also talking of cooking more meals at home using herbs and spices for flavor. Really, when you go to restaurants, you don't always have a lot of leeway of how you want your foods to be prepared and what you want the ingredients to look like, unless you have the money at your disposal and also you've gone to a high-end restaurant. Then really you can have a lot of leeway for you to make your suggestions here and there. We also saying gradually reduce the salt when cooking and seasoning. Remember when we talk of the different seasonings, some seasonings also have salt in them. Okay, yeah. For example, for the people who have used Royco, we all know that Royco has salt in it. So you realize someone is using Royco, the same person is using salt and DTC. So you will find that now the sodium is becoming a lot. Okay, and also choose low sodium versions of canned and packaged foods in areas or in circumstances where we can't avoid these packaged foods. At least let's choose those options that have low sodium in them. That is why reading is always key. We have here people who never even check for the expiry date of a particular product even when they are going to purchase it, which is really very absurd. But we need to find a way of choosing these foods that are low in sodium for the packaged or the canned foods. So, what is the impact of caffeine and alcohol on blood pressure? This I had explained. And we are saying there is a moderate coffee consumption of caffeine of up to 3 cups daily generally does not significantly impact our blood pressure. However, when we talked of excessive intake, okay, or sensitivity to caffeine can cause these temporary spikes in blood pressure, leading to hypertension if key considerations are not taken. All right. When we talk of the alcohol consumption, this we have seen, and we are saying that excessive alcohol consumption can raise the blood pressure and increase the risk of heart disease. So we aim to moderate intake, as defined as no more than 1 drink per day for women and 2 drinks per day for men. Well, this is literature, but we find that everyone interprets literature differently due to those complex relations between the alcohol consumption. We are talking of if alcohol is moderately taken in, there would be advantages that it would slightly lower the blood pressure. But in cases where excessive alcohol consumption cases were excessive because it was by causing the damages to the heart, the kidney, and the blood vessels, like we had said. And also, this is associated with a poor diet and lack of exercise because people who drink rarely do they exercise. People who drink really will eat these processed foods because once a person is drinking, then they're eating pork. If they are not eating pork, then they are smoking. And once you're smoking, then there are challenges with lung cancer and all those bad a category we call them peers. Okay, these are bad vices work together. If someone is drinking alcohol, they are smoking. If they are not smoking, they're eating pork or whatever it is. If they are not eating pork, then they are talking to maybe a woman or they are going to commit adultery, etc. So you see that sin, oh, okay, I don't want to call it sin, but yeah, it is sin. Sin works together, okay? Yeah. Then what, at the end of the day, this person is not going to exercise, this person is not going to eat well. No one eats, drinks alcohol and they're eating a salad. It doesn't happen. Okay? Yeah. It is very rare. Everyone is drinking alcohol and eating a lot of oily foods and oily foodstuffs. Boosting potassium for the blood pressure control. We are saying potassium is a vital mineral and it plays a crucial role in regulating the blood glucose levels. Okay? Yeah. And we are saying that sorry, and we are saying that low potassium intake is linked to increased risk of hypertension. Remember, we talked of high sodium intake. When you take in a lot of sodium, then there will be fluid retention, and the fluid retention will increase the blood blood levels. But when we come to the sodium, to the potassium, sorry, the potassium plays a crucial role in helping us regulate the blood pressure and maintaining the cardiovascular health. It helps us balance the effect of sodium in the body by promoting the execution or the excretion of sodium through urine, and also lowering the effect of the angiotensin. And also, this will help the blood vessels to relax and improving the blood flow and also reducing that strain on the heart. So, at the end of the day, we will see that blood pressure will be controlled. And the aim is to the aim for a daily potassium intake is at least 4,700 milligrams per day. And also rich dietary sources of potassium. Here we could talk of the bananas. Really, I think these ones we've known that they are mostly the biggest source of potassium. And then we have the oranges, we have the watermelons, the apricots, the mangoes, etc. For the vegetables, we have the spinach, the kale, the tomatoes, the potatoes, the sweet potatoes are also rich in potassium. So boosting potassium for blood pressure control, still we have the beans, the legumes, the kidney beans, the chickpeas, we have the nuts. That's why you see now the nuts are playing a very critical role because these same nuts have those unsaturated fats that will help us in weight management. Calcium and magnesium, where we are saying though there has not been the same recognition of the calcium and magnesium like potassium, we are saying these also contribute to lowering the blood pressure or also contribute in blood pressure management. We are saying calcium supports muscle function, including the heart, which plays a vital role in circulation. And also, magnesium helps relax the blood vessels, which contributes to lowering the pressure levels of the blood. So, what are the ranges that we should look at, or what are the targets? We are saying we aim for 1,200 milligrams of calcium daily for adults aged 18 to 50, and 400 to 420 milligrams of magnesium daily for adult men, and 310 to 20 for adult women. So, excellent sources of these for the calcium, we really know these are the dairy products, the yogurts, the cheese, etc. And the green leafy vegetables are also good sources of calcium, and also the fortified foods like the cereals and the soy milk. Please let's know that when we talk of fortification and highly refined foods, these are very different things. When we talk of fortification, we are trying to add a nutrient that was maybe existing earlier on, but now it has been taken out due to the processing. But we can also fortify the organic foods without them undergoing a lot of processing. Good sources of magnesium, we have the nuts and seeds, the whole grains, the legumes, and also the green leafy vegetables. So beyond restrictions, let's embrace the lifestyle shifts. When we are talking to clients, when we are counseling clients, managing blood pressure through dietary changes goes beyond restricting foods. We do not have to by rule of thumb tell you that please now from today onwards you are not going to be eating any foods that have salt in them. Okay? Really, that's not the way it works. Like I've told us every now and then that things work with customizing. The way I'm suffering from whatever I'm suffering from is not the same way you perceive it as a person who is going to be directing the intervention towards me. So we are saying embrace a holistic approach that incorporates sustainable life shifts for long-term successes. Build on those things that the people really want to do. Focus on building positive habits, things to do with cooking more meals at home to control the ingredients and sodium intake. These are things that can easily be achieved. Plan your meals and snacks to avoid unhealthy choices when rushed. Okay, when someone is rushed, they will just choose to eat whatever is available. But if at all someone plans which foods to go with to work and when to eat and what to eat, really, even if someone is rushing you here and there, you have your lunch box on you that is full of the healthy food choices that you made. Make gradual changes to allow your taste buds and habits to adapt. If I've been using 2 spoons of salt Let me start with 1 teaspoon or 1.5 teaspoons, then come to 1 teaspoon, then come to 3/3, then come to a half, then come to a quarter. Then you will see that the taste buds will be able to go slowly. That is why even when we want people to quit heavy drinking, we don't tell them stop drinking from now on, or these things bring challenges for people who are addicts. Some people even become go into shock. People die because now that habit that their body is used to is growing every now and then, and you just want to come out of the blue and stop it. And also find an enjoyable form of physical activity to incorporate in your routine. This is where I usually encourage people to don't force people to run. Okay, running is not the only, jogging is not the only physical activity out there. People can go and do boat rafting. People who want to swim can go and swim. People who want to jump can go and jump. People who want to dance can go and dance. But as long as there is calorie being burned, then we will have to settle for that. And also celebrate small victories and don't be discouraged by setbacks. Okay, this is the same. I would go a little bit into faith when we come here. Sin has been in the world for so long. Okay, yeah, but when you sin, that doesn't, you don't need to be focusing on sin. If you keep focusing on sin, you will sin again. But then when you sin, we understand this is a setback. But then what should we do that this setback doesn't happen again? Is it to make yourself very busy so that you stop sinning? Is it for you to find something that will occupy your time? Is it for you to find something that is enjoyable so that you don't get the joy from sin can now be transmitted in the joy you're getting from that other thing you're doing that you're hanging out with? Is it that you hang out with friends that will help you make these good choices? It is the same thing here, that you will find yourself doing things better in when you have when you start celebrating these small successes slowly. Sodium sources, we are talking of the processed meats, the canned soups and vegetables, the frozen meals, and the pizzas. We are looking at the instant noodles and ramen, the condiments, and also we are looking at the flavored snacks, the pretzels, the chips, the popcorn, etc. So information about sodium. These are the key things you need to look out for. The serving size. Be mindful of the serving sizes, as the sodium content are listed is per serving. Okay, the sodium amount. Look for the products with the lower sodium content per serving. This we had talked of, and also the percentage of the daily value. This aims for products with 5% daily value or less of sodium per serving. Stress management. We talked of stress also being a predisposing factor to hypertension. And we are saying chronic stress can contribute to elevated blood pressure and also increase the risk of heart disease. Explore activities like relaxation techniques where people talk of the deep breathing, the meditation, the progressive muscle relaxation, etc. And mindfulness practices like the yoga, the tai chi, capoeira, and all those things, and the kung fu people are using it also to help them with the stress management. Physical activity, regular exercising is a natural stress reliever. Go for those walks in the park, go for those walks in the mountains, and also keep in touch with the nature that God created for you. And you will see these stress levels dropping drastically. Engaging in hobbies, those activities that you enjoy will help you reduce stress and also boost your mood. Social support, we are looking at connecting with loved ones. This will help provide you with the emotional support. Sleep hygiene, quality sleep for improved stress management and hormonal balance. This one is really key for people who are working in places that have a lot of pressure. Whenever we're asking for these jobs, we say that I can work well under pressure, but really you're saying you can work well under high blood pressure. You need to meet deadlines every now and then. You will see that sleep hygiene is really key. Smoking cessation, this we have overly emphasized, and also the stress management and the mindfulness practices can help us manage those. What is the impact of exercise? We are saying that meta-analysis confirms that aerobic exercises effectively reduce blood pressure. Remember, these increase blood circulation and also help us in burning down the fat that would cause the constriction of the blood vessels and etc. And also the benefits extend both to the hypertensive and those people with a normal blood pressure levels. And the recommendation is at least 30 minutes most days of the week. And consider brisk walking. Brisk walking is walking very fast. There are swimming, cycling, and other enjoyable activities. And for the American Heart Association outlines these key goals for cardiovascular risk reduction. When you want to reduce the risks of the cardiovascular diseases, focusing on healthy diet. Well, here we are looking at a focus on the fruits, vegetables, and all grains, and the lean protein. Weight management, we are maintaining a healthy weight, always weight if needed. The normal blood pressure aim for less than 20 to less than 120 to 120 the systolic and also the diastolic being 80. Okay, then we are looking at the normal blood glucose levels, manage the diabetes or pre-diabetes effectively. That's why I told us that this is a metabolic syndrome. Most of these conditions work hand in hand. You will see that this person is going to be obese and have diabetes, then have the hypertension, then get the cardiovascular disease, and then die. Okay, so we need to find a way that if there is onset of one, we need to find a way of how we can make sure that the other is not present. Also, we are looking at being able to do regular physical activity where we need to adhere to the exercise recommendations and also avoid the use of tobacco products. That's why we're talking of cessation. Hypocholesteremia, then this we are talking about increase of cholesterol in blood. And what do we do when we are managing this? We reduce the saturated and trans fats and increase the unsaturated fats, the olive oil, the avocado oil, and also the fiber, fruits and vegetables, and also the steroids. Okay, yeah. So consider the therapeutic lifestyle changes in diet. Here we are emphasizing low saturated fat or moderate cholesterol, and also increasing the fruits and vegetables and whole grains. The omega-3 benefits. Omega-3 is really and one of the oils that is found in fish, okay, or in most seafoods, and we are saying regular fish intake is linked to reduced cardiovascular diseases, or linked to reduced cardiovascular disease risk for people who are found on the shores or who have their diets full of this intake of the fish. We find that these people have a low cardiovascular disease risk. So what we are aiming so really we aim for at least two servings per week of fatty fish rich in the omega-3 fatty acids, and that is the salmon, the tuna, the mackerel, etc. For fish oils, supplements may offer additional benefits for blood pressure reduction, and also we are saying you consider your doctor before you start this. Metabolic syndrome, like I've told you, this is a combination of these factors: our abdominal obesity, the high blood pressure, the abnormal blood sugar, and we are saying what is a recommended approach here. We are talking of the moderate carbohydrate and highly monounsaturated fatty acid diet. Okay, limit the alcohol, the salt intake, and also be able to manage the weight effectively. Also, this is we are saying that try as much as possible to consider the Mediterranean diet, like we had seen earlier on in the slides. For stroke management, stroke is what happens when now we are having a lot of these issues. There is inadequate blood flow due to now blockages in the system. Okay, yeah, blockages in the circulatory system always predispose people to stroke. And proper nutrition plays a vital role in this preventing strokes and also supporting recovery after one. During the acute phase, focus on meeting energy, protein, and also fluids needs while considering the swallowing difficulties. Rehabilitation phase nutrition also aims at minimizing the stroke risk and promoting healing. Right. For the acute phase after stroke, assess the nutritional needs. Okay, if someone has an inability to swallow, we saw what to do with the enteral nutrition. We saw the parenteral nutrition. Find a way of supplying nutrients to this individual. Also, the focus on providing the adequate energy, the protein, and also the fluids, considering the dysphagia if present. His specialized feeding techniques, like we had discussed earlier, should be employed. Combating muscle loss strategies to prevent these are in place. Okay, one is the dietary modifications, and we know that protein is the bodybuilding food. So here, increasing protein intake and calorie adjustments could be key because we don't want the body to come to start burning down proteins for energy. And also, we're talking of exercising, strengthen training, and also regular physical activity. For the nutrition supplements, we are saying consider protein powder and specialized formulas under medical supervision, and also pharmacotherapy, where we're talking of medication options may be explored in some cases. Dietary recommendations for patients with congestive heart failure, or you could call it the CHF. Here we are looking at reducing edema, and also we are looking at improving the nutrition status and also enhancing the respiratory function. For sodium restriction, we are looking at being able to restrict intake in this congestive heart failure and also preventing the fluid overload. The recommended is 2 to 2.4 grams per day. And also 3 to 4 grams per day in moderate restriction. Limit foods that are high in salt due to the sodium that is contained therein. And also, we are talking of the cheese, sausages, processed meats, and canned foods being part of the examples of the foods you'll need to limit. And also opt for low sodium alternatives. Opt for low sodium bread, the bakery products, the fresh ingredients, etc. So for the nutrition considerations, we need to make sure that we monitor both the weight, overweight and underweight. You will be surprised that people will say that obesity is a predisposing factor, but we also have hypertensives that are not obese. Okay, actually they will be obese at the start, but then they will start becoming underweight as time goes on. Also, we are talking of being able to adjust fluid intake based on edema and other medical complications. That is why when we talked of underweight, we talked of bilateral pitting edema. Edema is not only a case for malnutrition in underweight, but it is also a case in overweight. Cardiac cachexia, here we are talking of about 1.2 to 1.5 grams per kilogram of protein if present. And also, we are saying alcohol restriction. This we have overly emphasized. And for the drug nutrient interactions, they should also be taken into consideration since a person is going to be given those beta blockers and etc. Those calcium blockers, that sodium calcium pump, something I believe you will cover in your immunology classes. But also, we are saying adapt to diets for support, to adapt to diet to support energy needs, and also we are talking about pre and post transplant considerations. Okay, yeah. Uh, Maybe when we talk of cardiac cachexia, I think that would be the term. This is really when we are talking of malnutrition for people with heart failure. Okay. Yeah, remember now the heart failure causes the blood to be less efficient in pumping the blood, leading to a decrease in the oxygen delivery to tissues and organs. So, in response, the body may activate various mechanisms such as increased metabolism. Okay, so when now the metabolism increases, we will see muscle wasting, and when muscle wasting happens, what happens? Then we are going to underweight and gradually malnutrition. So that's the cardiac cachexia. For micronutrient recommendations, we are looking at calories. For the normal weight, it is 28 kilocalories per kilogram of body weight. And for the underweight, we will increase 32 kilocalories per kilogram of body weight. For the protein, this we saw yesterday, 0.8 to 1 grams per kilogram body weight and 1.2 to 1.5 grams per kilogram body weight for the cardiac cachexia or malnutrition. For the fats, we are looking at less than 10% of total calories coming from the saturated fat and less than 2% coming from the trans fats. And for the fatty acids, we are looking at 1.3 grams coming from the omega 3 fatty acids. So, friends, that brings us to the end of today's episode.